At the age of 25, I pleaded with Jack not to kill my little dog. If you want it to live, then apologize to Mia on its behalf by kneeling. I knelt, Mia smiled, and Jack indulgently smiled too. At 26, I begged him to save my gravely ill father. He threw a check at my face. Sure, as long as you die, but if you do die, do it far away so you don't dirty my home. I took the check to the hospital, then curled up in front of my mother's grave and slashed my wrists with a blade. At 27, I married a man who only had eyes for me, yet Jack, with eyes red, chased after me to my wedding venue. Allison, hand over your dog. It scared Mia. I held on to my trembling little dog tightly, facing Jack and his Mia, who was crying pitifully in his arms. Her pristine white skirt bore a dirty paw print, left when Snow, startled by her, had lashed out in fear. Jack, let it go, why bother with an animal? Mia said this but glanced at Snow with panic, burrowing further into Jack's embrace in fear. Seeing her shiver in fright, Jack's anger intensified, and he called someone over to snatch Snow from my arms. Snow whimpered in fear, and I saw that I couldn't protect it any longer. Jack, please, don't kill it, I'll do anything, just spare its life. We can spare it if you kneel and apologize to Mia on its behalf. Jack, Mia weakly tugged at his sleeve. Isn't this wrong? She is, after all, your wife. Her voice faded as she uttered the word wife, a shadow crossing her eyes. What kind of wife is she? Jack looked at me coldly. Allison, will you kneel? Holding Snow, who trembled in my arms. I knelt down. Mia smiled, and Jack looked at her indulgently and smiled as well. Late at night, I received a WeChat message from Mia. The photo showed her dark green silk dress entangled with Jack's white shirt on the floor, on the pristine white sheets. Her delicate arm dangled off the bed, Jack's tie still around her wrist. This tie, which I had personally selected and given to him as a Valentine's Day gift. After 3 years apart, Jack is still so impressive. Allison, haven't you satisfied him these years? 3 times in total. Jack was almost worn out. Allison, you really are a failure as a wife. Oh right, I really hate your dog. I'll make Jack kill it. The dog is annoying, its owner even more so. Your family is going bankrupt. What do you have that's better than me? Still clinging on shamelessly. I turned off my phone expressionlessly. A continuous stabbing pain throbbed in my left chest. This was perhaps the umpteenth time it ached inexplicably since Mia returned to the country half a year ago. I pressed the painful spot, unable to bear it. I got up and swallowed 2 painkillers. Maybe the medication worked. The pain eased, and I drifted off to sleep. I was awakened by a piercing scream. By the time I rushed downstairs, I only saw Snow, bloodied by the servants, limping out of the front door with a pitiful wail. I hurriedly chased after Snow, calling its name outside the gate, but Snow had already vanished. I searched for most of the night, but couldn't find him anywhere. When Jack returned, I was sitting alone outside the front door. Snow had been with me since birth. He never left my side. I don't know where he has run off to now, or how he will survive in the future. In my heart, I prayed that if he ran away, at least he could stay alive. If he stayed in this house, he might just end up being killed without any explanation someday. Later, I'll have someone send you a more well-behaved dog as compensation. I shook my head. No need. Mia was frightened. She's been having nightmares every night. Allison, as long as your dog is here, she won't be able to feel at ease. I couldn't help but laugh, tears falling as I did. Jack, am I still considered your wife? I never planned on marrying you, Allison. If it weren't for your slight resemblance to Mia, if it weren't for the affection from growing up together, do you think I would still let you be my wife? After marrying him, my family's company faced a financial crisis and was on the verge of bankruptcy. My father was so worried. He went gray overnight. My in-laws' attitude towards me dropped drastically. They had long thought of having Jack and me divorce, but Jack never brought up divorce. And I thought that there was still some affection between us as husband and wife, but now, it seems it was just my wishful thinking. Slowly standing up, enduring the pain surging once again in my chest, I whispered softly, Jack, let's get a divorce. Divorce? Jack reacted as if he heard a joke. Your father sought my guarantee for a loan of $30 million from the bank. Allison, do you think he would let you divorce, or do you have the ability to pay back these $30 million? Jack sneered coldly. Besides, with your capabilities, you probably couldn't earn $30 million in your lifetime. That $30 million was my father's last desperate attempt. but in the end, it was still futile. He fell ill, suffering from liver and kidney failure, but with the Grant family and company burdened by massive debts, there was no money for his treatment or a kidney transplant. When the company was in trouble before, I had already taken out all my dowry and personal savings. I was out of options. My mother died early, and over the years, my father alone raised me. His heart was divided in two, half for the company he founded with my mother, and half for me. Now, I couldn't do anything. I had to go find Jack, to Mia's house, to find my husband, Jack. Jack was taking a shower. Mia stood at the door in a bathrobe looking at me. Coming for money again, Allison, no offense. But with the Grant family being a bottomless pit, you should just let Jack be. The pain in my left chest started to throb again. I remembered what the doctor told me at the hospital after I fainted from the pain. Allison, you need to undergo surgery immediately, to remove the lesion on the left side to save your life. I suggest you get hospitalized now. Does your husband know? Dr. Chan, could you keep this a secret for me? I don't want my father to know I'm sick, okay? But you must have the surgery as soon as possible, Allison. I will perform the surgery myself. I don't want to undergo the surgery, I insisted. Now is not the time to be stubborn, Allison, Dr. Chan replied. Thank you for your efforts, Dr. Chan. If I really can't make it, I'd like to leave this world intact. Allison, I raised my hand to clutch my painfully aching left chest, my face pale as I said, I'll wait for Jack to come out. Mia was about to say something when suddenly the sound of the bathroom door interrupted her. Her expression changed instantly, and she ran to Jack, tears streaming down her face. Jack, Allison wants me to donate a kidney to save her dad, but doesn't my life matter too? Before I could respond, I was struck by a harsh slap across my face. Dazed by the impact, blood began to trickle from my nose and mouth. I forgot to wipe it away. Just staring blankly at Jack in front of me, we had grown up together, childhood friends. He and Mia were college sweethearts, but Mia's poor family background was unacceptable to the Jensen family. At that time, my family and the Jensen family were considered a good match, and I had feelings for Jack, so, our families arranged our marriage, but Jack resented me deeply because of it. He thought I had schemed my way into this situation, cutting off his future with Mia. He believed I was manipulative, gloating before our marriage by sending Mia ambiguous photos, which led to her breakdown and eventual suicide abroad, and with Mia gone, I would be rid of a rival forever. Today, he believed such a clumsy lie and slapped me without a second thought. Looking at him, I wondered, where had the Jack who used to carry me home when I fell and call me little sister Allison gone? Where was the young Jack who defended me from bullies, even getting beaten up in the process? Jack, for the sake of our marriage and considering how good my dad has been to you, can't you save him? Jack looked at me and suddenly laughed. He lit a cigarette and pulled out a check. Sure, I'll save him if you die. Fine, I'll die. I pressed my hand against my numb left chest. Jack, don't worry. As long as it saves my dad, I'll go right now. Don't die here. Allison, if you're going to die, do it far from our house. He retorted coldly. Yeah, Jack. It would be so creepy if she died right at our doorstep. That would be really bad luck, Mia added. Did you hear what Mia said? Jack tossed the check at my face. Get lost and stop embarrassing yourself. I crouched down, picked up the check, and took one last look at Jack, the man I had secretly adored since childhood. I silently said goodbye to him in my heart. When he had made me kneel for Mia and later killed my Snow, I had completely let him go. It was time to wake up from the dream of our youth. Holding the check, I went straight to the hospital. Unbeknownst to me, after I left, Jack also left Mia's apartment without any change in his expression. Mia, with tears in her eyes, watched him for a long time, but he never wavered. My father was very ill and weak. I told him there was hope, that Jack had given me a lot of money, but my father just shook his head. Allison, we don't want his money. I lay beside his bed, silently weeping. Allison, listen to your dad, leave Jack, don't look back, don't get back together. Tears blurred my vision as I looked at my loving father. Dad, those were his last words to me. After he spoke, he gripped my hand and slipped into a state of limbo. I cried out for the doctors and nurses to come. I took out a check, begging them to save my dad, but it was beyond help. He had no will to live. He didn't want to go on. He missed Mom. I missed Mom too. Children without mothers aren't supposed to cry out loud. Even when they are wronged, Children without mothers are like wild grass, trampled by anyone. At 2 in the morning, I sat for a long time in front of my mom's gravestone. Finally, curled up, I pressed against my mom's photo and slashed my wrists with a sharp blade. Hot blood surged out, soaking the damp soil beneath me. As my consciousness blurred and the blood loss made me shiver coldly, I curled up tighter, hugging myself. Mom came to take my dad and me. Our family could reunite in another world. Allison, Allison, amidst the haze, I heard someone calling my name. I tried to open my eyes wide, but could only see a tall, thin figure running towards me. I fell into a warm embrace, yet it felt so unfamiliar. I wanted to see who it was, but I had lost all my strength. My blood-stained arm limply fell from his embrace, and I heard the man crying out my name heartbreakingly, Allison, Allison. So, there was someone who cared about me after all. I was in a coma in the hospital for a week. When I woke up, my dad had already been buried. He was laid to rest next to Mom, and they could be together forever. No one knows that I had also reserved a small spot for myself in front of my mom's grave. Having lost my relatives, there was little left in this world that I cared to cling to. But I survived. Ivan saved me. Allison, I came back too late. Ivan held my hand, his eyes bloodshot. He had been by my side all week, looking haggard and unkempt. Brother, how did you get here? I spoke weakly, trying to give him a smile, but I didn't even have the strength to smile. Don't talk, Allison, just rest. Tell your brother whatever you want to eat, and I'll get it for you. I want to see Jack. Allison, there was uncontrollable anger and helplessness in Ivan's eyes. But I was insistent. Please, brother Ivan. Ivan stood up, gazing at me for a long while. His eyes were somber, but in the end, he didn't refuse me. I fell asleep for a few more hours before Jack finally arrived, bringing Mia with him, but he didn't let Mia enter the hospital room. Ivan said you were looking for me. Jack stood by my bed, his voice unusually gentle. I lay there, calmly looking at him. Perhaps in that moment when my blood was nearly drained, my obsession and love for him also vanished with it. I felt an unprecedented sense of relief and comfort, as if I had personally severed the ropes that bound me. Jack, let's get a divorce. He seemed surprised, but then he nodded in understanding. It's good that you've come to terms with it. We should have never gotten married in the first place. I smiled too. Then let's handle the paperwork tomorrow. Out of compassion, he replied, you're seriously hurt. Just rest. I'll take care of the divorce proceedings. Thank you. That would be helpful, Allison. If there's anything you want, just tell me. After all, we were married. There's nothing I want. I'll just take back what I brought into the marriage. Those were the dowry my parents prepared for me, and I didn't want it to remain with the Jensen family. All right, I'll give you an additional 5 million. No need. I have the house and inheritance my father left me. Okay, as you wish. Jack suddenly seemed irritated and looked at me several times. Allison, you can't blame me entirely for your father's situation. He chose not to undergo the surgery himself, of course. I knew that. My father had told me, yeah. I didn't want things to turn out this way either. If you hadn't schemed against Mia and married me out of desperation, I wouldn't have disliked you so much. I'm sorry. I won't bother you anymore. Rest well. I'll come to see you another day. Jack then left the hospital room. I slowly closed my eyes, feeling relieved, like I had escaped from an airtight cocoon. I would never have to feel that suffocating pain again. Ivan reviewed all my medical records and test reports. Without allowing any objections, he insisted on taking me to the city for treatment. After much thought, I only had one request. Please don't tell anyone about my illness. After all, if I do end up needing surgery, I don't want people to know that I am incomplete. Ivan's hand trembled as he gently embraced me. Okay, I won't tell anyone. No one will know. After getting the divorce certificate, Ivan took me to the city. On the day we left, we heard that Jack was getting engaged to Mia. Although the Jensen family didn't like me, a fallen daughter-in-law, they disliked Mia, who came from a very humble background, even more and strongly opposed the engagement. I had no interest in their affairs. After boarding the plane, I turned off my phone and broke the SIM card, would no longer use my old WeChat account. I had completely left everything behind. Upon arriving in B City, I was admitted to the hospital for treatment. Perhaps because my mood was no longer as depressed and heavy as before, my condition gradually stabilized. Ivan stayed by my side, busy with a newly established company that demanded his attention in all matters. Yet, he managed to spend at least 3 days a week with me in the hospital. I was no longer the naive and carefree child I once was. I could feel that Ivan's feelings for me were extraordinary. All the little things I had overlooked before were now coming to light. Why Ivan had gotten drunk on the eve of my wedding to Jack. After I married Jack, Ivan went abroad and rarely returned in the past 3 years. Even during the new year, Ivan never came home. When I visited Ivan's parents, the elderly couple held my hand, sighing and hesitating to speak, when my father fell ill. On the night of the incident, why did Ivan show up just in time? As a child, I was always clinging to Jack because we were about the same age, and Jack was fun and lively. However, Ivan seemed mature beyond his years, the very image of a model child. My parents often held him up as an example to teach me a lesson, which made me dislike him, and gradually, we drifted apart. Later on, as I grew up, I naturally developed feelings for Jack, but Jack only had eyes for the delicate and fragile Mia. I can't count how many times I secretly cried over this. Once, while I was crying and scribbling Jack's name on the ground, Ivan caught me in the act. I was terrified. He looked so stern and unapproachable. I feared he might tell my parents, so I grabbed his hand, pleading incessantly. Of course, he didn't tell them. Unexpectedly, he even bought me an ice cream to cheer me up. He stayed with me until I finished my ice cream, listening to me ramble on about how much I liked Jack. That evening, he barely spoke. When he finally took me home, he only coldly advised, "Your college entrance exams are the most important thing right now. Don't waste your energy on trivial matters." I nodded hurriedly, but inside, I dismissed his advice. Ivan was such a dull person. How could he understand what it's like to have feelings for someone? It wasn't until much later that I realized it wasn't Ivan who was clueless. It was me. 2 months into my move to B-City, I suddenly got a call from a former friend, a mutual friend of Jack and mine. "Allison, where are you now?" "Out of town." "What's up?" "Well, could you come to see Jack, or maybe just give him a call?" In just 2 short months, hearing Jack's name no longer stirred any emotion in me. "Sorry, David, but Jack and I are divorced." "I know, but Allison, Jack's not doing well. He got drunk at a gathering last night and kept calling out your name." I didn't respond and just hung up the phone. Then blocked the number. They were Jack's friends before they were mine. No matter what Jack did, they would always take his side first. But why should it matter to me, his ex-wife, whether Jack is doing well or not? Later that afternoon, another unknown number called. I didn't answer. Shortly after, I received a text message. "Allison, it's me, Jack. Can you pick up the phone?" I didn't reply and blocked that number too. Jack was arrogant and conceited. For years, I had chased him and revolved my life around him, loving him to the point of losing myself. But not anymore. Once you step out of the cage that confines you, you realize how vast the world is. The so-called love that once tormented you turns out to be the least important thing. Moreover, that so-called love was probably just a fixation from my youth. Jack knew my stance well, so he shouldn't bother me anymore. But unexpectedly, 3 days later, Jack unexpectedly showed up beneath the apartment building that Ivan had rented for me. I was returning from a walk in the garden when I spotted him, a picture of utter loneliness. "Allison," Jack's eyes lit up the moment he saw me. I didn't approach him, but I didn't turn to leave either. I was still feeling weak and didn't have the energy to deal with any drama. Jack quickly walked up to me, reaching out to embrace me. I stepped aside to avoid his arms. Jack paused, a hint of hurt in his eyes. "Allison, I've been looking for you for a long time." I remembered the past, how he'd hopped from one girlfriend to another, how he'd been desperate for Mia, and how that had left me heartbroken and unwilling to deal with him anymore. He had looked at me with the same expression back then. I would always soften, forgive everything, and continue revolving around him. But now, even though he was the same person, my heart felt no ripples of emotion. "Is there something you need, Allison?" "I've been thinking about you the whole time you were gone." Jack looked thinner, visibly worn. David had mentioned that he hadn't been doing well, and it seemed genuine. I didn't respond, feeling no stir of emotion in my heart. I wondered how I could have ever foolishly fallen for someone so fickle when I was younger. Jack always lingered on every woman who left him, the former Mia, the current Allison. Perhaps it was all the same, only becoming precious because they had left. "Jack, is there something you need? If not, I would like to go upstairs." "Allison," Jack tried to grab hold of me, but I dodged him again. "Allison, Mia and I are not engaged." Seeing that I still wasn't speaking, Jack became anxious. I said I'd divorce in a moment of impulse. "Allison, come back with me." I'll treat you well. You don't have any family left. We grew up together. I will be your only family." His words sounded earnest, but I found them utterly tedious. "Jack, I'm not going back with you. The moment I decided to divorce you, I completely let go of you and my feelings for you. Please leave, and don't come back. Allison, you've changed. You were never like this. You used to say you'd always be with me, always love me." Yes, I did say that, but I went back on my word. I didn't want to talk any longer, and started to walk past him. "Allison." Jack reached out and grabbed me. I was already seriously ill, and his sudden pull made me dizzy, causing me to collapse weakly to the ground. "What's wrong, Allison?" Jack seemed shocked, his face turning pale. "It's nothing. I've just been a bit tired these days." I pushed him away, trying to stand up, but lacked the strength. "I'll pick you up." Jack bent down to lift me but was suddenly pushed away forcefully. "Ivan." Jack staggered to stabilize himself, looking displeased. "What are you doing here?" Ivan ignored him and picked me up, saying, "Allison, let's go home." "Put Allison down, Ivan. Allison doesn't want to see you. Just leave." "Who do you think you are?" "Allison is my wife. She wouldn't avoid seeing me. If I remember correctly, you were the one who finalized the divorce." Ivan looked at him coldly. "Jack, don't forget, it was you who gave up on Allison. Please stop harassing her. If you show up here again, I will call the police immediately." "Ivan, you like Allison. You've always liked her. So now that we just got divorced, you swooped in, didn't you?" "Yes, I admit I like Allison, but I would never take advantage of the situation like that." "Jack, don't think all men are as despicable as you." "Ivan, let Allison decide for herself. Let her choose whether or not she wants to go with me." Jack was relentless. "Allison, come back with me. We're still husband and wife. We can have a good life, get another dog, and name it Snow." Jack looked at me desperately, his eyes red. "Allison, you've always wanted a child. Let's go back and start planning, boy or girl. As long as you like, I'll be happy. Is that okay? I will never meet Mia again." "Okay." Ivan held me, his face as composed and serious as ever. "Allison, you choose. I respect all your decisions. It's always been like this." His emotions never showing, but I remember that night. How heart-wrenching his voice was when he found me at my father's grave, the tears that fell on my face, how scalding they were. In that moment, my heart fluttered slightly, a deep, aching pain began to spread from the depths of my heart. It traveled to my limbs, a bitter pain that could not be contained, bringing instant tears to my eyes. Ivan probably didn't even notice. His tone was so calm, yet his grip on me was so tight, and slightly trembling. He was scared, perhaps. Scared that with a mere flick of Jack's fingers, I would foolishly go back to him, afraid that Allison would still be as naive as before. Blinded, I gently held Ivan's long fingers. "Brother Ivan, what is it?" "Allison, I'm a bit hungry. Could you make something for me to eat?" Ivan looked at me, and after a few seconds, he gave me a light smile. "Shall we go home then?" "Yes, home," as he carried me into the elevator. Jack seemed unable to believe my choice, but ultimately, his pride prevented him from following us. Ivan had me sit on the sofa to rest, took off his suit jacket, put on an apron, and went into the kitchen. While making soup, he brought me some honey water. Holding the cup, I watched his busy figure. Every meal, every season, such simple daily routines are what true happiness is made of. If only I hadn't fallen ill, how wonderful that would be. "Allison, dinner's ready." Ivan supported me as we walked to the dining room and sat down. All the dishes were my favorites. There was even dessert, a small ice cream. "Can I eat this?" There are many foods I need to avoid now, and it's been a long time since I last had ice cream. "It's your childhood favorite. A little bit should be fine." "Ivan, it must be hard for you, always running around like this." Ivan just stroked my hair. "Allison, I've never felt happier than I do now. If only I hadn't gotten sick." "You'll get better. No matter what, I'll make sure you're cured." "What if one day I end up incomplete? As long as you're Allison, that's all that matters." Ivan served me a bowl of soup. "Eat well, Allison, your brother is here." But Ivan is not a miracle worker. Everyone falls ill at some point because we all eat grains. These years have been truly unhappy for me, too oppressive. That's probably why I got this illness. Although the condition had temporarily stabilized, it flared up again quickly. One night, I fainted while taking a bath. Ivan, not bothering to change his shoes, carried me and rushed to the hospital. I was taken to the emergency room. He sat on a bench in the outside corridor, staring motionlessly at the closed door. Later, the doctor said, I needed chemotherapy, and if necessary, part of the lesion must be removed to prevent the spread of cancer cells. I needed to shave my head and begin the excruciating process that every cancer patient must endure. Ivan sat by my bed, his eyes so gentle, even bald. Our Allison is still the prettiest girl. Shall I stay with you through this, Allison? He took off his hat, and I saw that he, too, had shaved his head. The suppressed emotions and uncontrollable feelings of guilt and resentment suddenly surged like a tide. I hugged him, gradually starting to cry, and eventually, in his arms, I broke down like a child. Ivan, I clung tightly to his sleeve, my voice hoarse. I called out again, Ivan. Allison, be good, let's go through the treatment, okay? Can we wait a bit longer? I looked up at him, my face wet from crying. Before I start chemotherapy, Ivan, can I be your bride? When I married Jack, we simply registered our marriage without any engagement ceremony or wedding. On our wedding day, there was no bridal chamber because Jack flew overseas overnight to deal with Mia, who was threatening to commit suicide. No one in the world would believe this. Not even David and the others, during the 3 years I was married to Jack. We never truly lived as husband and wife. It's laughable. He refused to throw a wedding and wouldn't touch me, yet, for those 3 years, I deceived myself like a blind and deaf person. Every girl goes through such a foolish, wholehearted phase. Some are lucky enough to wake up from it, while others deceive themselves for a lifetime. I've died once, and it was like being reborn. I no longer care about certain worldly concerns. Nor do I wish to experience certain regrets and missed opportunities again. However, I didn't officially register my marriage with Ivan. If one day I leave this world, Ivan must continue to live well. He will eventually meet someone better, get married, and have children. I'm a bit selfish, but I can't be completely selfish. Our wedding wasn't grand. The day before, Ivan gave me a huge surprise. He found Snow and brought him back to me. I was so happy I almost went crazy. Holding Snow and not wanting to let go, Snow nestled in my arms, whimpering non-stop. He still recognized me. He missed me too. At that moment, I truly felt like the happiest person in the world. Since I have no parents and most of my old friends are connected to Jack, the only guest I invited to my wedding with Ivan was my best friend Sarah. We were high school classmates. Later, I followed Jack back to our hometown, and she followed the man she loved to the south. I didn't have a wedding with Jack, so she couldn't be my bridesmaid then, but this time, she could wear a beautiful bridesmaid dress and accompany me. Allison, why didn't you tell me about your illness, about your divorce? Sarah hugged me and cried for a long time. Aren't I your best friend? Didn't we agree to have no secrets forever? You're living a happy life now. I didn't want to worry you, I replied. Sarah paused, then burst into tears again. Allison, I'm not doing well at all. I'm not happy. What's wrong? Sarah, aren't things between you and Jack always good? I asked. Sarah shook her head. Let's not talk about my troubles. Let's talk about you, Allison. It was pretty bad before, but now, I'm very happy. I looked over at Ivan. A stylist was fixing his hair. He saw me watching him from the mirror and a doting smile slowly spread across his face. I smiled too. Sarah, look, I've prepared the most beautiful bridesmaid dress for you. Sarah, with tears in her eyes, caressed the exquisite bridesmaid dress. It's really beautiful, you fool. Why did you make the bridesmaid dress so pretty? I nestled into her arms, cooing like we used to when we were studying, because Sarah and I are best friends. And I want my best friend to look stunning, today. You are the most beautiful, incomparable to any woman in the world. Sarah pinched my cheek. Touch up your makeup quickly. The wedding is about to start. I obediently went to fix my makeup, getting everything ready. After changing into high heels, Sarah helped me stand up. I looked at Ivan with a big smile. Ivan, do I look good? My hair is still thick and black. I'm dressed in a bridal gown, with makeup slightly heavier than usual. I look both healthy and beautiful. Ivan examined me intently, taking in every detail of his bride-to-be. You look beautiful. The hairstyle and makeup really suit you. You look handsome too. I raised my hand, gently touching his freshly trimmed sideburns. Ivan, you are the most handsome groom in the whole world. He chuckled softly, hugging me gently so as not to mess up my makeup. He gave me a light peck on the cheek. To me, Allison, you are the most beautiful girl in the world. He took my hand and we walked out together. Little did we know. In the lobby downstairs, Jack would appear. He even wore a formal black suit and held a bouquet of roses. Ivan's family and friends were visibly surprised. The faces of Ivan's father and mother turned sour, but Jack seemed oblivious to it all. Holding the bouquet, he walked straight up to Ivan and me. Ivan's expression grew stern. Jack, today is a special day for me and Allison. I don't want any awkwardness. Please leave. Jack ignored him. His gaze intensely fixed on me. He looked thinner, and his hair was cut shorter. I noticed he was wearing a white shirt under his suit that seemed familiar. The tie clip was also familiar. On his ring finger, he still wore the simple wedding ring we once bought casually. Allison, Jack holding the flowers, slowly knelt on one knee. I've come to marry you, Allison. I wanted to laugh, but the laughter wouldn't come. This was a dream I had when I was young, unfortunately. It's a dream I no longer wish to dream. Some people truly aren't worth it. Honey, shall we start our wedding soon? I softly asked Ivan. My illness made me weak, and I insisted on wearing high heels. At that moment, I really felt uncomfortable. I wanted the wedding to start quickly, to spend a little more time as a beautiful bride. I didn't want to waste time on irrelevant people. Just 10 minutes. Let's go there quickly. Okay. Ivan considerately supported me. Take it slow. No need to rush. Allison, Jack still stubbornly knelt there. David and a few others came over, looking somewhat embarrassed as they gazed at Ivan and me. They went over to try and lift Jack up, but he stubbornly knelt, unwilling to stand. Allison, I didn't look back. My wedding dress had a beautiful, long train, Sarah said. When I wore the wedding dress, I looked like a cherished little princess. When I married Jack years ago, there was no wedding, no ceremony. I had once cried alone for a long time. During that period, I couldn't bear to see others getting married. I can't bear to see brides in wedding dresses. My heart aches like it's being sliced by a knife. The pain is unbearable. But now, I too can be cherished by someone. Jack, get up. Allison, she's getting married now. It's time for you to let go, David gently advised. But Jack refused to get up. His eyes were red as he stared blankly at the sight of me in a wedding dress. In the end, he broke down in tears. Allison is my wife, David. Have you all forgotten? Allison is my wife. We've been married for 3 years. But Jack, you've been divorced for a year. You agreed to the divorce. You broke Allison's heart. I truly didn't realize I had misunderstood Allison. I was deceived. David, I never meant to hurt her. We grew up together. I know she always liked me. I thought she would always love me, no matter what I did. I thought she would never leave me. Jack, in a daze, stood up, ready to chase after me. I need to get my Allison back. I regret it, David. I regret everything. I don't need anything else. I just need Allison. David and a few friends held him back. Jack, do you want to hear the truth? We've known you longer than we've known Allison. We would normally be on your side. But Jack, I've been holding back for a long time, over these years. Did you ever truly see Allison as a person, as your wife? Everyone else can see who Allison really is. Why don't you trust her, Jack? People have feelings, and the 3 years Allison was with you, she was truly miserable. We all wanted her to be happier, and you see, she's getting married now. Mr. Lou loves her very much. He cherishes her. She will be happy in the future. Can you please not bother her anymore? David, Allison is just trying to upset me on purpose. She's too heartbroken, so she's marrying someone else to spite me. She doesn't like Ivan. She loves me. Jack clutched David's sleeve tightly, as if desperate to prove something. You all know how much Allison loved me over the years. You all saw it, didn't you? Yes, we saw it, and that's exactly why we are so disheartened. Jack, as if he hadn't heard, continued, it's true, it must be. Allison is just too heartbroken. She loves me. It can only be me. David shook his head. Jack, you must be crazy. My wedding to Ivan was very brief. He was considerate of me, worried I couldn't stand it, and kept the ceremony as short as possible. Even so, by the end, I could no longer stand from the pain. Ivan carried me back to the room. Honey, let me take some painkillers. Ivan's eyes were moist as he held me for a long time before softly responding, you can only take one. Be good, Allison. Later that evening, I felt much better. Ivan didn't go out to dine with friends and family. He stayed in the room with me. Honey, I want to take a bath. Okay, I'll carry you there. Ivan carried me to the bathroom. After the bath, he laid me down on the bed. Allison, rest for a while. I'll go get you something to eat. Honey, but I gently grabbed his hand. Don't go, I don't want to eat, I just want you to stay with me for a while, okay? Come here, hold me, okay? Whatever I asked. Ivan agreed. He was as indulgent with me as one would be with a child, cuddled in his arms. I felt incredibly happy and secure. We talked a lot, reminiscing about our childhoods. Allison, Ivan, not one to wear his heart on his sleeve. Even his confessions of love were restrained. But in that moment, he gently touched his forehead to mine and sighed. Do you know how jealous I was of Jack all those years? How sad I was when you married him? Do you know, in those years? Hearing that you weren't doing well, I thought many times about coming back to take you away, but I always lacked a bit of courage. I regret that, Allison. If I had come back to find you sooner. I lifted my face and kissed him gently. It's okay, Ivan, at least now, we are together. You're right, at least now, I am with Allison. Ivan kissed me very gently, as if afraid that even a slight force might hurt me. I asked him to turn off the light. Some secrets can only be whispered in the dark. Ivan, desire me, Allison, let me have no regrets before I leave this world, okay? After I said this, for the first time, I saw such an innocent expression on the usually composed Ivan's face. He looked like a passionate young man, somewhat incredulous yet helplessly gazing at me. Allison, I couldn't help but laugh, lifting my hand to hook around his neck. Ivan, I am your wife now, in this world. There are many people who can easily fall in love and just as easily engage in relationships and then discard them, but there are also those who are virtuous, never frivolous with their affections. Ivan once said, from a young age, he quietly fell in love with a flower. He watched that flower bloom for others, wither, cry, and laugh. His emotions fluctuated with that flower. He once thought, as long as the flower bloomed brilliantly, nothing else mattered, but later, when the flower was about to die, he couldn't hold back any longer. He returned to her side and transplanted her next to himself. From then on, for the rest of his long life, he would take meticulous care of her. We had been married for 5 years. Later, when I became very ill, the doctors said that both of our chambers needed to be removed. I might still live for another 2 years. I did not agree. I didn't want to die in front of Ivan, broken and ugly. I didn't want Ivan to be sad. There are too many partings and deaths in this world. I've been through many, and I know how painful they are. The day I left B City, it was heavily snowing. Leaving Ivan felt completely different from when I left Jack. The pain was unbearable. I really couldn't bear to leave. It felt like someone had taken my heart out, leaving me empty. A few days ago, David called me. He said Jack's current situation was very bad. When I got married a few years ago, he and Mia had completely broken up. But 2 years ago, Mia returned with a 3-year-old child, claiming it was Jack's. She presented a paternity test to the Jensen family. Of course, the Jensen family didn't believe it and had another paternity test done. It turned out the child really was Jack's. Because of his grandson, Jack's parents eventually compromised, but Jack refused. He acknowledged the child but refused to marry Mia. Naturally, Mia couldn't swallow her pride, and they ended up in a messy fight for 2 years, until recently. Mia completely broke down, revealed everything that had happened, and then left again. It turned out that everything Mia had maliciously fabricated about me was her own scheming. I never sent Mia so-called intimate photos to provoke her. Her threats of suicide were all her own design, merely a ploy to bring Jack back to her. From start to finish, Allison, was the most innocent. David said Jack was almost driven mad at the time. Afterward, he just wasn't right. He stopped going to the company. Neglected the child, day and night. He kept company with a dog named Snow, muttering about waiting for me to return. David once tried to ask me if I wanted to go back and persuade Jack. David, I'm dying, I can't worry about others, but you can tell Jack something for me. What's that? Allison died at the age of 26, at her father's grave. The Allison who lived on belongs to Ivan. Her heart belongs to Ivan too. Tell him to forget Allison, forget the past, and look forward. It took David a while to ask me, Allison, would you forgive Jack? Would you return to his side? Sorry, my father's last wish was for me not to be with Jack again. David hung up the phone and didn't call again, but a month later, I received an obituary on my phone. Jack had committed suicide. He slit his wrists. The day he died was the anniversary of our wedding. I didn't go back for Jack's funeral, but in my heart, I also completely let go of the past. Perhaps, it wasn't forgiveness. Just letting go. During the new year, in the dead of night, I quietly went to visit my parents. I stayed at their graves for a long time, the pain almost overwhelming me until I nearly lost consciousness. In a daze, it felt like someone lifted me up. Allison, let's go home. It was as if I was transported back to my childhood. The first time I met Ivan, he was like a tall, slender poplar tree. Dressed in a blue and white school uniform, carrying a backpack, he was quiet and composed. I was still a lively little girl, running around cheerfully like a gust of wind. His parents smiled and told him to call me Little Sister Allison. Little Sister Allison, are you Brother Ivan? I looked at him curiously, thinking he was really handsome. Yes, he nodded at me with reserve. I immediately spread out my dirty little hands and offered him a candy. Brother, have some candy. Ivan hesitated, but he took the almost melting candy. Brother, let's go out and play. My sticky little hands grabbed his. He didn't shake off my hand. Hand in hand, we ran to the riverbank. Some kids were playing house, pretending to have a wedding. One of them was the bride, and I immediately felt envious. Brother, I want to be the bride too. Will you be the groom? Okay. We naively imitated the other children, performing a ceremonial bow to heaven and earth. Brother, will you buy me a wedding dress when we grow up? I will. It needs to be very beautiful, with a long train of white tulle. Okay, brother, you are so nice to me. I will marry you when I grow up. Allison, little Ivan touched my hair. He had a cute and handsome smile. You can't go back on your word. I nestled in Ivan's arms, using the last bit of my strength to tell him, brother. Allison kept her word. Hot tears fell on my face. Ivan lowered his head, gently pressing his cheek against mine. Allison, don't talk. Brother will take you home, in the next life. I still want to marry you, be your bride, brother, in the next life. Come for me sooner. Okay, Allison, brother, hold me tighter. I'm cold, so cold. In a panic, he took off his coat, wrapped me tightly, and rubbed my hands continuously. Allison, hold on, we're going to the hospital. Take me home. I don't want to go to the hospital. Okay, Ivan, like when we were kids, carry me back. Okay. Eventually, Ivan couldn't hold back his tears. He crouched down, letting me rest on his back, ready to carry me home. Allison, hold on tight. Ivan stood up with me on his broad back, and the last line of tears slowly seeped into his clothes. But the road home was too long. Ivan, in the next life, appear a bit sooner. Sure, here is the translation. In our next life. Let's start loving each other from the moment we first meet. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, let's continue to see another similar moving story. Simon was in a car accident. When I arrived at the hospital, his secretary was peeling an apple for him. In the chaos, the fruit knife slipped and cut her finger. Simon, looking panicked, grabbed the secretary's hand. You're bleeding, nurse, please come. After the initial commotion, he caught my eye and suddenly turned pale. I calmly put down the apple in my hand. Do you still want the apple? Tina's finger was wrapped in a thick layer of gauze. She sat by the bed, visibly shaken. My gaze drifted to the half-peeled apple that had fallen under the bed, still attached to its peel. Why didn't you finish peeling it? Tina's delicate face instantly turned pale, and she looked pleadingly at the man in the bed. Simon frowned. Jessie, don't be hard on her. It was something she was doing just fine before I walked in. Now, it seemed to be a problem. Tina sighed in relief. Exaggeratedly, she stood up awkwardly. Jessie, Simon had the accident while he was taking me home. After she said this, before I could respond, her eyes welled up. I'm really sorry for causing you trouble. She bowed deeply. I waited. I said nothing. Glancing at Simon, I hesitated, then took my bag and left the room. The room was quiet for a long time. Finally, Simon looked at me. I thought you were asleep. I didn't know how to respond. 2 hours earlier, Simon had sent me a message. He said he had a meeting and told me not to wait for him for dinner. At that time, I was in his company's parking lot, watching Tina get into his car. I didn't reply to Simon's message. The hospital room was silent for a long while. I picked up the apple, the fruit knife in hand, but hesitated to cut. I don't know how to peel apples. I looked up, speaking softly. I thought you were at a meeting too. Simon's expression froze. The knock on the door came abruptly at that moment. Tina's face peeked in, cautious. Simon, I forgot my perfume. She rushed into the room. The scent of perfume wafted past me. there was an elegantly wrapped gift box at Simon's bedside, still unopened. Tina picked it up, biting her lip as she explained, "Jessie, I asked Simon to help me choose it. Please don't think too much." Her appearance was such that no woman would consider their relationship innocent. I slammed the fruit knife down on the table with a snap. Tina jumped, unsettled, looking at me. I remained expressionless. "But your Simon said he was in a meeting." Tina looked up sharply, confused. She glanced at Simon, then back at me, stammering, "Simon, he was with me after the meeting." "Enough," Simon interrupted her. Tina's eyes filled with tears. Simon looked displeased. "Jessie, don't scare her." His tone softened as he looked at Tina. "Go home. This isn't your fault." She looked at him in surprise. A few seconds later, she lowered her head obediently and said, "Okay." It was just the two of us left in the hospital room. The atmosphere turned somewhat gloomy. From the hospital bed came suppressed breathing sounds. Simon rubbed his forehead. "Jessie, Tina's birthday is coming up, and we didn't mean anything else." He used the word "we." I suddenly felt bored. It started raining outside. The raindrops pelted densely against the window. Simon's expression changed. A flicker of worry crossed his eyes, quickly hidden. I heard Simon's phone ringing. A soft voice of a girl came through the handset. "Simon, it's raining heavily outside, and I didn't bring an umbrella. I'm also really worried about your health." I didn't catch Simon's response. Tina's voice came through again. "I won't go back then. Jessie seems to really mind my presence." Simon looked visibly upset. His gaze met mine. "Jessie, she's just a kid." I looked at him, a 26-year-old kid. He pursed his lips. He didn't respond. Suddenly, I couldn't hold back my emotions. "Or do you wish it was me getting soaked in the rain downstairs?" His demeanor softened. "That's not what I meant. Years ago, there was a similar heavy rain. I fell while working part-time and broke my shin." Simon rushed into the hospital room in a panic. His eyes turned red when he saw me. At that time, I was saving up to buy him a cotton jacket. His old one had been worn for 3 years, the cuffs were torn, yet he was reluctant to replace it. Back then, neither of us had much money. The only fruit we could afford for vitamins was apples, the most basic brand, 10 yuan for 15 pounds. The skin was so tough, I couldn't bite into it. He patiently peeled each one by my side, and then, he carried me on his back and secretly ate the apple peels that were supposed to be thrown away. It brought me to tears, yet, Simon just laughed. He said, "Jessie, I'll peel all the skins for you in the future." Later, Simon's business took off. He could buy any jacket he wanted, any fruit he desired could be delivered to our home, but I never saw those basic apples again. When the rain stopped, I left the hospital. Simon seemed a bit anxious. "Jessie, are you angry?" I stopped but didn't turn around. I heard his tentative voice. "I didn't mean to deceive you. I just didn't want you to overthink." I struggled to keep my voice steady. The insurance company called. About the claim, I heard the man behind me sigh with relief. He said, "Don't overthink it." Walking out of the hospital was bustling, with orthopedics next to obstetrics, men supporting women, couples passed by me, most had faces glowing with happiness. There I stood, out of place. I knew what Simon was testing. He had made it big. His circle was now filled with bosses and elites. In this circle, the favorite topic was who had switched up their lovers. Initially, Simon had sworn he would never be one of those people, but as time went by, Simon started coming home later and later. Eventually, a scent of perfume lingered on him. I remember that scent. It was niche, yet costly, just like the one Tina wore. When I returned to the hospital, I brought the porridge I had bought. As I pushed open the door to the ward, my husband was being helped out of the bathroom. Tina's face was flushed, her eyes darted around, unsure where to look. She seemed extremely shy. Simon coughed dryly, propping himself up as she helped him to the bed. There was already a packed meal by his bed, clearly homemade and brought in by someone. I set down the porridge, making a noise. It seemed to disturb the ambiguous atmosphere between the man and woman. Tina was flustered. "Jessie, I went to find a nurse, but they were all busy, and Simon needed help, so I had to help him to the bathroom myself." I didn't see anything. My gaze swept over Simon's evasive eyes. He kept his tone normal. "How did the appraisal go?" I smiled, turning to Tina. "How was it? Was Simon too much for you to handle?" Tina's expression changed drastically. She turned to him, speechless. Simon frowned. "Jessie, watch your words." Her face turned even redder. Her eyes brimmed with tears as she argued, Jessie, Simon was in such a hurry, and you weren't in the ward. I couldn't just let him wet the bed. It was the first time I really looked at her face, round and fair, her forehead smooth, much like how I looked when I was younger. As Tina finished speaking, Simon's face gradually grew colder. He glanced at the stark contrast between the two breakfasts on the table, then suddenly asked, "Where were you last night?" "Where, of course, I went home to sleep." I didn't reply, but he scoffed, "I picked out perfume for Tina, at least that got me a homemade breakfast. But you, did the appraisal take all night?" "Jessie, did you ever consider that I can't take care of myself right now? You left me alone in the hospital, and Tina came to help. What's wrong with that?" Simon, Tina, tears welling in her eyes, leaned against him and then looked up defiantly at me. Simon had a cast on his leg. He couldn't move when I arrived. It was really pitiful. She lowered her voice. "Anyone who saw him would feel sorry." I smiled faintly. "Miss Tina, legally speaking, the burden of proof lies with the claimant, given the current situation. Who should care for whom if there's an affair and an injury? Is there a dispute?" Tina's eyes widened in panic. "We didn't, Jessie." Simon gritted his teeth. "You're getting more absurd. I wasn't planning to sour our relationship just yet." I picked up the packed vegetable porridge to leave. Behind me, I heard Simon's angry call. He suppressed his anger, took a deep breath. "Tina didn't see anything just now, and those ugly words of yours, keep them to yourself." I nodded. "All right." I swung the small porridge in my hand. "Not eating it, don't waste it. I'll feed it to the dogs." I turned and left. Behind me, the soft sobs of a woman echoed, just before the elevator arrived. The sound of a man's gentle consolation followed. I closed my eyes. Emotionally, I was surprisingly calm. This time Simon said he had a meeting. It wasn't the first time he had lied to me, and the first time was also because of Tina. A banquet. Simon, who always insisted I accompany him to these events, suddenly told me that no one was bringing their partners this time. I agreed not to attend, but that evening, I saw a photo posted by a mutual friend. Simon was holding the young girl close, his left hand poised to block drinks for her. I hadn't seen him laugh so freely in a long time. When he came home, seeing that I had found out, he tried to appease me with a smile. "Give the newcomer some room to grow, honey, don't be mad. I just thought she looked a bit like you," which stirred my sympathy. If someone had given us a hand back then, we wouldn't have had to struggle so much. It was the first time I realized, to Simon, the hardships we had endured were an unbearable past. That day, I didn't argue with him, but Simon was scared. After a night of silence, he swore. He promised to keep his distance from her from then on, whether it was Tina or any other Tina. He stopped seeing her. Unfortunately, it wasn't long before I heard that Simon had officially hired the newcomer as his secretary. The secretary's name was Tina. When Simon came home, he was using a cane. Tina was supporting him, her face flushed with a thin layer of sweat. She saw me, and immediately let go of Simon's hand. Panicked, she said, "Jessie." I was just helping Simon. I didn't do anything. I stared at her slightly smudged lipstick. "Before you try to cover things up, remember to wipe your mouth." She gasped and covered her lips. Only her moist eyes were visible, not just Simon. Even I felt an urge to console such a woman. Sure enough, he coughed lightly. "It might have smudged when she was helping me just now." Tina nodded in agreement, her hands still covering her mouth, as if waiting for someone to say one more thing so she could let her prepared tears fall freely. I looked away. Across from me, Tina kept moving, pulling out a perfume bottle from her bag, placing it on the coffee table, and retreating. "Jessie, this was paid for by Simon. I'm giving it back to you. Simon is still not well. Please don't fight with him over me." She bowed to me and then turned and ran. At the same time, a friend request popped up on my WeChat. After adding them, they didn't speak. They just silently posted a moment. "There are many things he's given me. The things I don't like can be thrown away." The picture attached was of the perfume bottle that appeared on my coffee table. Such a crass provocation. I calmly locked my screen and turned around. Behind me, a man's voice sounded slightly urgent. "Jessie, where are you going?" I turned back. "Busy." "What's up?" Simon's chest heaved. He closed his eyes. "I've sent Tina away. Don't be angry anymore. You weren't there with me at the hospital. I can't be alone all the time. Jessie, can you stop making a fuss? Try to understand me a bit, will you?" I said, "Okay." When I saw Simon's relieved expression, I picked up the phone. What's Tina's number? I'll call her to come back. The relief in his eyes crumbled in an instant. Jesse, are you crazy? I'm your husband, and you want another woman to take care of me? My gaze fell on his face. Why not? Facing his astonishment, I smiled faintly. The things spouses do, you two were prepared to do them, weren't you? Simon's face stiffened. Yes, Simon had been driving my car recently. I heard everything recorded by the dashcam, including him going with Tina to pick out perfume, including their dinner reservation. If it weren't for the accident, their next destination would have been a hotel. Even Simon talked about having Tina choose an apartment near the office. I heard that too. What else is there to say? I didn't stay any longer and turned into the bedroom. The living room fell silent for a long time. The sound of a cane falling on the floor. I once used a cane too. I had a fractured lower leg, bound in plaster for a long time. Even if my body was failing, life had to go on. Simon hustled during the day for his startup. At night, he rushed home to take care of me. The day he came home, I had fallen on the ground. The plaster was mostly cracked. When we went to the hospital, he scolded me. Your leg is already broken. Why did you get out of bed? Wait for me to take care of you. At that moment, I just felt wronged. Today is your birthday. I wanted to make you a bowl of birthday noodles. Simon froze. I didn't cry, yet his eyes turned red. Then, he fiercely pulled me into his arms. Jesse, I will treat you well all my life, and if I ever fail you, I deserve to be struck by lightning. Back then, he was just starting his business. He had no money, no friends around. No one remembered his birthday, only me. Simon had forgotten his own vows, or rather, he wasn't influenced by his surroundings. It was just his nature. In the living room, the footsteps were uneven. The door to the study was knocked. Simon's voice was low. Jesse, let's talk. I think I can explain things about Tina. He used his spare key to open the door. I was organizing the documents for our marital property. He frowned slightly. What are you doing? I paused. I set aside the documents, just cleaning up the dust. Simon stood up straight. We haven't done anything inappropriate. I looked up at him. So what? His Adam's apple bobbed. And before he could speak, my phone kept ringing with notifications. New messages from a recently added friend, Jesse. Is Simon feeling better? I'm a bit worried about Simon. After all, I've always been the one taking care of him. Hey, Jesse, why aren't you replying? Are you busy, or are you mad at Simon? Don't fight because of me. There's really nothing going on between us. She hadn't been out of the house for more than 2 hours when the concerned messages started to flood in. I replied to her. Is it more thrilling for you two to have an affair if I'm involved? Simon was getting impatient in front of me. Jesse, stop looking at your phone. Can you listen to me? He emphasized word by word. There's nothing between me and Tina. I don't know what you've assumed, but you can't. I shoved my phone in his face. Simon's unspoken words were stuck in his throat. The reason was that Tina had sent me a photo. In the photo, she was lying in a hospital bed next to Simon, her eyes closed, her face full of bashfulness. It was a VIP hospital room, complete with a fold-out companion bed. What kind of excuse could possibly explain this? I stared into Simon's eyes and scoffed. Tina quickly retracted the photo from the chat. Her voice message came through, clearly frantic. Jesse, I accidentally sent that. It was just random. You didn't see it, did you? Simon's expression changed instantly. He staggered, grabbing the edge of the table. Jesse, Tina, she doesn't understand the manipulations of women. That day, the hospital's heating was broken. And she was just trying to keep me warm because she was worried I'd be cold. I just watched him silently. My phone chimed again. Tina's voice played automatically. Jesse, are you mad at me? It was just that I was too cold that day, so I stayed close to Simon. Don't think too much about it. Simon's expression froze. I lifted my chin. No need to explain. You both were cold. I get it. I neatly stacked some property documents. Sensing something, Simon suddenly covered my hand. Jesse. What are you doing with these? I pulled my hand away, couldn't help it, and pushed him away as I went into the bathroom to wash my hands and disinfect them. Simon followed behind, his eyes full of confusion. What do you mean, Jesse? You think I'm dirty? I turned off the tap, still wiping my hands with an alcohol wipe, looking down. That hand of yours, it held Tina, didn't it? He stiffened. His face turned a mixture of green and white for a while. Everyone around me is like this, Jesse. Why can't you understand me? Do I always have to be the exception? He couldn't hide his disappointment. Jesse, stop making a fuss, it tires me too. Despite having made up my mind long ago, Simon's sudden change of demeanor still left me blank for a few seconds. What spread in my heart was not grievance. Instead, it was a settling of dust that felt right. I stared at him, calmly responded, "Fine, no more fuss." Simon was taken aback, as if it was unexpected. I dried my hands, walked past him. Put on my shoes. It took Simon a moment to react, leaning on a crutch. He came over with a deep frown. "Where are you going?" I didn't look back. I closed the front door, arrived at the law firm. The property assessment wasn't finished yet when I received a call from Simon. I could hear his restraint. "Where did you go? When will you be back?" From the other end of the phone, there was a faint sound of glass shattering as it hit the floor, followed by a girl's exclamation. Tina's voice was filled with regret. "Simon, I accidentally knocked over the photo frame. What should I do?" I didn't catch the rest of the conversation. Simon hastily ended the call. Soon after, he sent a message, "Don't overthink it. I fell and couldn't reach you, so I asked her to help. She'll be leaving soon." I put down my phone, silent. There was only one photo frame at home. It was the one containing our only photo together. Taken right after I recovered from a leg injury and he couldn't wait to propose. We couldn't afford a wedding shoot, so we asked a nurse to take a photo of us outside the hospital. Simon had promised that once we had money, he would take me around the world to wear the most beautiful wedding gowns. But once the money came, he no longer had the time. I stood up and walked over to the lawyer. I pointed to the asset he was reviewing. "I don't want this house. It's tainted, disgusting." This was the first time I hadn't gone home after getting married. Simon's call came precisely on time at 9. "Why haven't you come home yet?" Before I could speak, he quickly added, "Tina has left. My leg hurts a bit, and I haven't had dinner." His words reminded me of the first time I learned about Tina. He was offering me a way out, but if I took it, it meant letting him and Tina test my boundaries over and over again. Such games, played too often, only bore me, this time. I didn't respond but instead told him clearly, "Simon, let's get a divorce." There was a long silence on the phone, then I heard Simon's feigned surprise. "What are you talking about? Divorce isn't something to be taken lightly. Haven't I told you I haven't done anything to wrong you? Why is this still not over?" My tone remained calm. "I've had the assets evaluated, and the divorce agreement will be delivered to you. You're at home right now, right?" Simon finally realized I wasn't joking. His voice, filled with anxiety. "What divorce agreement? I've never thought about divorcing you." Only the sound of me flipping through the divorce papers filled the phone call. "When you receive it, you might want to read page 3 carefully. It details the division of assets." "Jesse," Simon's voice cracked. "Are you serious?" "Why wouldn't I be?" Just like Simon trying to make me accept the fact he was seeing someone else, even if it was a test. Wasn't it real? I kept my tone steady. Although the law doesn't speak of leaving with nothing, it does support compensation in fault-based divorces. I'm asking for half. Let's not push this to a lawsuit. It won't look good for either of us. Something crashed in the background on Simon's end. His voice trembled slightly. "No lawsuit, Jesse. I agree to the divorce." "Good, then I'll proceed with the legal steps." Simon cut off the call unilaterally. After thinking it over, I still decided to have the divorce papers delivered to Simon. It's best if he's willing to sign. Legal proceedings, after all, are troublesome. As I was preparing to sleep, the phone rang again. It was Simon calling. We hadn't spoken for half the day. I frowned. "Do you have any objections to the terms of the agreement?" He seemed unable to hear me, his voice hoarse as he began. "Jesse, I've been thinking for a long time. In our marriage, I never truly crossed the line. Tina is just a colleague of the opposite sex. I don't see her as a reason for our divorce. Why have you changed so abruptly?" He paused, his voice filled with confusion. "Is there something else going on?" I was initially shocked, but then found it ludicrous. "Simon, are you trying to pin this on me?" He was silent for a few seconds. "If you stop talking about divorce, we can discuss this properly," he continued. "Even to this day, I have remained faithful. I haven't touched anyone else." I countered. "What if you hadn't had the accident?" Without that accident, according to their planned itinerary, a shopping date followed directly by a trip to the hotel. Simon had even prepared an excuse. After the meeting was supposed to be entertaining clients. If there hadn't been an accident, Perhaps Tina might even be pregnant by now. Simon was silent for a long time on the phone, finally frustrated, but the accident did happen, and nothing happened between us. I calmly asked, "What about at the hospital?" "Nothing happened there either." Simon's voice abruptly stopped. I laughed. "So, it doesn't count as cheating if Tina used her hand." He panicked. "What are you talking about?" I calmly stated the facts. 6 days ago, I visited the hospital. I saw with my own eyes Tina coming out of the bathroom, full of flirtatious charm. As if she was afraid I wouldn't understand, in front of me, she shook her hand and smiled contentedly. "Jesse, I'm a bit tired." At that moment, Simon was in the hospital bed, surrounded by privacy curtains. The floor was littered with used tissues. The whole room was permeated with a suggestive and lascivious scent. I immediately turned and left the room. At that time, I could still hear Simon asking, "Tina, what's wrong?" In a coquettish voice, Tina responded, "It's nothing, Simon. Just that my hand is really sore." The man whispered comforting words. The next day, my bank account was short of 200,000, but it didn't matter. Those expenses were all charged to the portion of assets allocated to Simon. What was mine could not be shortchanged by even a penny. When Simon found my new residence, I wasn't particularly surprised. This was the second house he had bought, and it was in my name. When he handed me the keys, he had said, "If I ever make you sad, you can move here. This is your husband's assurance." I never doubted Simon's sincerity at that time. Unfortunately, sincerity can change. He leaned on a cane, his chin covered in stubble, looking weary and worn. "What are you doing here?" I asked him, bringing the agreement. Suddenly, Simon grabbed my hand. "Jesse, I know I was wrong, but I never thought about divorcing you. I only realized I couldn't accept it after you left. Whether it's Tina or any other, I only have one wife. And that's you, Jesse. I don't want anyone else, nor can I accept anyone else." He emphasized earnestly. "In the hospital, nothing significant happened between me and Tina. I know you care, and I really get it now. Shall I ask HR to dismiss her? Would that be all right? From now on, no matter what kind of mess people are getting into, I won't be a part of it, okay?" The cane fell to the ground. He tried to embrace me as he spoke. His breath sprayed on my neck. A dense feeling of disgust surged up my throat. I pushed him away fiercely. Simon hit the security door with a noise. He looked slightly stunned, his eyes reddened. "Jesse, no matter how dirty this circle is, my feelings for you have never changed." I couldn't hide the disgust in my eyes. "How would you feel if I touched other men with my hands? Could you accept that?" He was taken aback. His lips trembled, but no words came out. "You can't accept it, can you?" I sneered coldly, stepping closer to look him in the eye. "Then why should I be expected to be okay with everything?" His voice choked. "That's not what I meant. I meant I could make it up to you." I stared at him. I watched as he propped himself up using the door but didn't reach out his hand. Suddenly I asked, "Do you still remember the promise you made when I broke my bone?" Simon's face drained of color. I continued, "I don't know if you'll be struck by lightning, but right now, even if you were struck dead, I wouldn't want to look at you again." "Simon, you truly disgust me." He looked at me incredulously, his eyes widened. I pushed the door open, stepped out, and slammed it shut in his face. "If you like, you can stay here. I'm leaving to file for divorce." "Simon, I hope you can tell the judge loudly in court that handling things with your hands isn't inappropriate." "Jesse." He shouted my name loudly. I walked away. I happened to pass his cane. I didn't see it and accidentally kicked it away. The divorce proceedings were filed quickly. It wasn't long before Simon received the court summons. Before the trial, Tina began desperately trying to make her presence felt. Her messages to me were sobbing. "Sister Jessie, why are you using divorce to force Simon to fire me? I never thought of competing with you, mister. Simon has already taken me to many gatherings. If he fires me, what will other bosses think of me?" Such self-pity. I knew exactly who it was meant for. I didn't reply. Whether Simon fell for her tricks or not, Tina became hysterical. "Why must you always be the extra one blocking others at the most inappropriate times? What are you pretending for? Jesse, you also climbed up this way, and now you turn around and block others' paths." Tina was referring to the fact that I owned 15% of Simon's company. I found it somewhat ridiculous, but still, I took the time to reply to her message. "The path I took is different from yours. I helped build Simon's company step by step. You want to replicate my success without the same effort. Do you think you, who serve others with your looks, can compare to me. I didn't wait for her response. I blocked her contact. Such shameless people. The divorce case with Simon caused a big stir in our circle. Before the court date, I happened to see Simon in a wheelchair. Pushing the wheelchair was not Tina, but a male assistant I had never seen before. He stared at me from a distance. His lips were dry and cracked, showing a mix of reluctance and disappointment. Jessie, do you know, people in our circle have been reaching out to me. There are many men keeping mistresses, and their wives know about it, yet you are the only one causing a scandal, making it embarrassing for everyone. I stopped in my tracks. Do you mean to say we should go back to the ancient? It's not impossible. I smiled at him, noticing a flicker of emotion in Simon's eyes. I said slowly and deliberately, why don't you try getting struck by lightning? If it kills you, you can travel back in time and have your concubines and wives. I seriously suggested. Give it a try. That's how it happens in TV shows. Hope shattered in Simon's eyes. Jessie, before stepping into the courtroom, he called out to me again, his fists clenched tightly at his sides. I admit my faults. Can we not go this far? Inside the courtroom, only the two of us were left to take our seats. I gave a distant smile. Do you remember what you said during that meeting when I asked you something? Simon's face turned ashen. He remembered. That day, I had asked him, if I were to tell you some good news, could we skip the meeting? Could we avoid all this? Simon had replied softly back then, it's just a business meeting, it won't take long. Can the good news wait until I get home? As if realizing something, he quickly wheeled his chair closer and grabbed my hand. What was the good news you wanted to tell me that day? Jessie, what was it? That day, I wanted to tell you I was pregnant, that we were going to be a real family. His gaze sharply fell on my stomach. With longing, he said, Jessie, let's not divorce. Let's go home, we have a child. Let's start over. I'll be a good father. I bent down to look him in the eye. But the day I saw you with Tina in the parking lot, I had an abortion. I smiled. Otherwise, why do you think I got to the hospital so quickly? His eyes reddened instantly in my view. Trembling, he said, Jessie, are you taking revenge? You don't even want the child just to get back at me. I shook off his hands and scoffed. You're overthinking it. I just didn't want my child to have a father like you. Being born would have been his disgrace. With those final words, I showed no further mercy. I turned around and stepped into the courtroom first. The evidence submitted included their complete conversation in the car. The irreparable breakdown of the marriage needed no further proof. The judge's gavel fell. Years of marriage were thus declared over. As I walked out of the building, Simon sat despondently at the entrance. I looked away. I walked down a different path, leaving him behind. From then on, we went our separate ways, unrelated to each other. That evening, someone had arranged a dinner to celebrate my first day of being single again. People clinked glasses at the table, the atmosphere buoyant. Someone started clapping. Soon, a dozen men walked in and lined up in a row. Someone teased me, Jessie, you used to not care when you had a husband, but now you're single, lighten up, no need to stick to the rules. A woman chuckled nearby, get Jessie too, one on each side, quickly, I'll pick up the tab. The private room was lively. Simon was unaware. Beyond his business circle, there was an elite social circle in H City. He had his mistresses to compete with. In that circle, there were pampered puppies, taught by the ladies themselves. It's not always clear who plays around more. But fitting into a group isn't just about shared interests. Though I never got involved, I still got along with everyone. During the meal, someone tipsy confided in me, Jessie, don't be so uptight. In circles like these, your ex-husband was no stranger. He was quite the player. Haha, the party ended late. I had a few drinks and felt slightly tipsy. The sound of high heels followed by the exit from the club. A woman lit a cigarette right in front of me. Successful night, Jessie. I nodded. The woman across smiled. Good, since you succeeded. It's my turn next. When I get divorced, you have to help me. I laughed. Sure, I'll even bump into your husband for you. The woman rolled her eyes. And the mistress, the one prepared for Simon that wasn't used, let's use it for my old Wang, that's his type too. I acknowledged each point. Rain began to fall, cool and damp on my skin, sobering me slightly. I had long known the dirty secrets of their business circle. The woman originally prepared was just a test, but before the test could start, Simon had already fallen for another woman. No, to be precise, Simon had always been inclined that way, Tina just appeared earlier and matched his thrill-seeking psyche perfectly. The woman in front of me blew smoke rings, suddenly frowning. I heard you were pregnant before, you had an abortion. Are you even out of confinement to be drinking? No, I laughed, shaking my head, and pulled a slim cigarette from her pack, lighting it. Never been pregnant, just fooled the fools. The harsh smoke hit my throat, and I coughed. The woman stared in astonishment, then burst into laughter. Classic Jesse. Simon, though a scoundrel, had a sharp business mind. His net worth wasn't insignificant. While vacationing in the Maldives, I heard the latest about Simon. Simon's leg hadn't fully healed when he attended a signing ceremony. It was a multinational corporate partnership. Even local media were invited. That's when Tina burst in crying, accusing Simon of seducing and abandoning her. She screamed and ruined Simon's signing ceremony. Even though Simon pulled many strings, he couldn't salvage the situation. Business is a strange circle. When you lack the ability, you can push through with determination to squeeze in, but once you're in and fall back into the mud, no one acknowledges having known you. I've only heard that Simon has been miserable lately, dragging his unhealed leg. He's desperately trying to salvage his situation. I stopped following what happened next. Whether he makes a comeback or falls deeper, eventually he'll be a stranger, and we might never meet again. Someone called me to join them in the swimming pool. I got up with a smile. Coming, the waters of the Maldives are indeed vibrant and colorful. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.